Hello, my name is Ram and welcome to another video of Matuklasan. And in this video, we'll talk about problems involving right triangles. And of course, since we are talking about these problems, hindi pwedeng mawala ang angles of elevation and depression. To have a better understanding of our lesson today, make sure that you have watched my previous video about the solutions of right triangle. Please see the link below. Kailangan kasi may idea tayo kung paano gamitin ang mga trigonometric function ratios sa pagsusolve ng mga problems involving right triangles. For our first worded problem, a 24-foot ladder leaning against the side of a house makes a 70-degree angle with the ground. So if this is our ladder, this is the horizontal ground. That is why 70 degrees is the angle generated by the ladder and the horizontal ground. Now, the problem is we need to find the distance from the top of the ladder up to the ground. Let this distance be h, and we can see in the figure that we have a right triangle wherein one of the sides is given and one interior is also given. Now, if one of the sides is missing, what formula can we use? We all know that we can't use the Pythagorean theorem here because only one side is given in the right triangle. So we need to rely on the 6 trigonometric functions. In the previous video, we talk about SOHCAHTOA. So, alin kaya dito ang pwede natin gamitin if this is the reference angle, 70 degrees, and the opposite is missing and the hypotenuse is given. So, reference angle 70, ang h ay opposite, at ang given ay hypotenuse. Opposite, hypotenuse. So, ibig sabihin, ang gagamitin natin sa SOHCAHTOA ay yung SO. Bakit? Kasi meron tayong hinahanap na opposite at meron tayong given na hypotenuse. Therefore, ang formula na gagamitin natin ay sine 70 degrees referring to the reference angle, which is equal to the opposite side, which is the missing value, h, and the given hypotenuse, which is 24 feet. Now, to solve for h, all we need to do is to cross multiply these values. So, this will become 24 times sine 70 degrees. Don't forget that your calculator should be in degree mode because the given is given in degrees. So, by pressing your calculator, what should be the value of 24 times sine 70 degrees? Yes, you'll get the answer 22.55 feet. Huwag niyong kalimutan yung unit pag hinahanap natin yung value ng mga values. I mean, yung mga nawawalang values. Kaya, ang distance ngayon mula sa top ng ladder hanggang dito sa ground ay 22.55 feet. In this next problem, a ramp 14 feet long rises to a loading platform that is 3 feet off the ground. Find the angle that the ramp makes with the ground. So, halimbawa, meron tayong mga binababang loads at gumamit tayo ng ramp to lessen our effort. Ngayon, possible na galing dito sa platform, pinapagulong yung mga loads pababa. Okay? By using this ramp. We can see here that this platform or this ramp is rising. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, mula dito sa ground, nag-rise siya papunta dun sa platform which is 3 feet off the ground. Now, siguro malilito kayo dito sa angle kung saan ipopwesto kasi hindi nyo alam kung dito sa taas o dito sa baba. Tignan nyo tong given. A ramp makes with the ground. So, pag sinabing ramp with the ground, therefore, ito yung angle na tinutukoy doon. In between the ramp and the ground. Again, we have a given right triangle and this time the angle is missing. Now, since we have a reference angle here, this side becomes the opposite side, the 3 feet. And then the hypotenuse, of course, is this ramp which is 14 feet. Now, alin sa tatlo ang gagamitin natin? So, ka or toa. Since opposite ang involved at hypotenuse na naman, then we can use sine function. Kaya ang equation natin ay magiging sine theta, which is the reference angle, equal to 3 over 14. Why? Because 3 is the opposite side of the right triangle, while 14 is the hypotenuse. So, tumama dun sa SOH, right? Now, paano natin masosolve yung angle dito? By getting the inverse. Okay? So, parang isipin nyo na lang na itong sine na to ay napupunta sa kabilang side ng equation at nagiging inverse siya. So, we make it arc sine or sine inverse. Kung ito ay tangent, halimbawang ito ay tangent, edi lagay nyo rin sa kabila at gawin yung tangent itong part na to. Okay? So, on your calculator, ang makukuha nyong value ay 12.37 degrees. Pero, alam naman natin na sa calculator nyo, ay makikita nyo lang 12.37. Pero, lagyan nyo ng degrees kung naka-degree mode kayo kasi ang hinahanap natin ay angle measured. So, the angle that the ramp makes with the ground is 12.37 degrees. Problems about right triangles are not confined to these kinds of examples. Kailangan din nating matutunan yung tinatawag na angle of elevation and angle of depression. An angle of elevation is defined to be the acute angle formed by horizontal line of orientation and the line of sight. So, if this is our observer, we can see here that the observer has a line of orientation. The line of orientation is always horizontal line. So, ito yon, imaginary line yan. Iniisip natin lagi. Now, if the line of sight, since the observer is looking on the top, ito sa taas, no? So, ibig sabihin, yung line of sight natin ay pataas. Ang angle ngayon na nabubuo between the line of sight and the line of orientation is called the angle of elevation. Since yung observer ay nakatingin sa taas, no? Elevation ang pinag-uusapan natin. But what if the observer is looking down? It's called angle of depression because an angle of depression is likewise defined as the angle of elevation but involves a line of sight that is below the horizontal line or orientation or of orientation. So again, ngayon ang observer natin ay nasa taas at tumitingin siya sa baba. The line of orientation does not change. It's always the horizontal line. No? Now, since the observer is looking down, the line of sight is in this part. Ayan. At ang angle na nabubuo between the line of orientation and the line of sight is the angle of depression. In my case, para hindi ako nalilito, iniisip ko na lang na pag-angle of elevation, elevator. So, ang elevator ginagamit para tumaas, 'di ba? So, ang angle of depression naman pababa. Kasi 'di ba, kapag depressed ka, down ka. Okay. Let's try this example. From a point 30 feet from the base of a tree, the angle of elevation to the top of the tree is 57 degrees. So, do you know that we can actually measure the height of the tree kahit na hindi natin siya inaakyat? That's possible, no, sa mga modern devices like transit and theodolites. Possible na ma-measure natin yung mga angle of elevations without climbing up the tree and from a particular viewpoint. At ito yung mga ginagamit to measure different distance and height using angles. So, yung mga nakikita natin sa daan na minsan nakala natin ay kung ano ang kinukuhanan o nagpa-photoshoot, no? Hindi, nagsisurvey itong mga taong ito using these devices. For us to solve this problem, we need to assume that this is the height of the tree and let that be h. Now, since the tree is perpendicular to the ground, we can assume that we have a right triangle, having this side as our hypotenuse and this as one of the legs. If the reference angle is 57 degrees, then the opposite side is h, and the adjacent side is 30 feet. From the SOHCAHTOA, anong pwede natin gamitin? Yes, we can use the tangent because tangent is equal to opposite over adjacent. So, our formula will be tan 57 degrees equals h, which is the opposite side to the reference angle 57 degrees, and 30 as the adjacent side. So, how do we solve for h now? Yes, we just need to cross multiply 30 from the other side of the equation. So, the equation will become 30 times tangent 57 degrees. By using your calculator, the height of the tree now is 46.20 feet. Next, from a 125-foot observation tower on the coast, an observer sights a boat. The angle of depression of the boat is 6 degrees. Now, how far is the boat from the coast? Notice here that I place the angle of depression here. One of the common mistakes of the students, nilalagay nila yung angle of depression dito. Kasi nga naman, baba, no? Pero, lagi yung tandaan, ng angle of elevation ay depression are always between the line of sight, the imaginary line of sight, this one, the imaginary line of sight, and the line of orientation, which is the horizontal line. So, ito yung ating angle of depression at hindi ito. Now, to solve this using SOHCAHTOA, dapat meron tayong makitang right triangle, di ba? At ang pinaka makikita nating right triangle dito using the 6-degree angle ay ito. By drawing a perpendicular line here to the horizontal. At makikita nyo na meron tayong right triangle dito. Kaso, no, ang hinahanap natin ay distance of the boat from the coast. So, let that be D. Paano natin gagamitin yung triangle dito sa taas para makuha natin yung D? Simple lang. Kailangan nyo lang ilipat yung reference natin mula sa baba papunta sa taas. Okay? Kaso ang problema, mahirap isolve yan kung 6 degrees lang ang meron tayo sa triangle natin. So, kailangan natin ng measure para dito sa vertical line na ginuhit natin. At hindi problema yan because this is just 125 feet. Because this is just parallel to this line on the tower. Right? And with that, meron na tayong triangle with angle measure and measure of one of the sides. At para hindi tayo malito, try nating iwanan yung triangle lang. And you can see here that if the 6-degree angle is the reference angle, 125 feet here is the opposite side, while D, which is the missing side, is the adjacent side. Now, if that's the case, anong pwede natin gamitin sa SOHCAHTOA? Opposite, adjacent ulit. Opposite, adjacent. So, that's tangent again. And the formula now is tangent 6 degrees equals 125 feet over D. And 125, as we all know, is the opposite side, while D is the adjacent side. Tama? Ngayon, anong gagawin natin to solve for D? Well, you can actually cross-multiply D on the other side of the equation. Or by what? Multiplying both sides by D. Pero mas madali na lang na cross-multiply natin. So we have D times tangent 6 degrees equals 125 feet. Now, to remove tangent 6 degrees from the left side of the equation, we just need to divide both sides by tangent 6 degrees. And if that's the case, this will become 1. So that ang matitira na lang sa left side of the equation is letter D. So D is equal to 125 feet divided by tangent 6 degrees. By using your calculator, D now is 1,189.30 feet. So, the distance of the boat from the coast is 1,189.30 feet. Merong alternative way to solve this one. Yung iba, imbis na ang ginagamit ay yung triangle sa taas, ang ginagamit yung triangle sa baba by making this 6 degrees. Pero bakit? If we have two parallel lines at meron kang ginuhit na we call transversal line, yung mga alternate interior angles nito ay equal. So, ibig sabihin, if this is 10 degrees, yung dito sa ka-alternate niya sa left side ay 10 degrees din. So, kung ito ay 6 degrees sa taas na triangle, yung nasa baba ay possible na 6 degrees din. And here, you can refer to this triangle. Diba? At anong gagamitin nyo? Tangent pa din kasi involved pa rin yung opposite at yung adjacent. And of course, we will just get the same answer, which is 1,189.30 feet. In this next example, the angle of depression from the top of a 300-foot building to the top of a 180-foot office building is 60 degrees. So from this part as our reference, or from this point as our reference, the angle of depression of the other building is 60 degrees. Now, how far apart are these two buildings? So let this be the distance between the two buildings. So let that be B. And like we always do in the previous example, we need to find a right triangle so that we could find the value of B. Now, kung mapapansin nyo, meron na tayong reference angle sa taas, which is 60 degrees. And by drawing a perpendicular line here to the top of the building, I can form a right triangle. And notice that if the line at the bottom is B, no? Kapag kinuha ko yung line dito as a reference, which is parallel to the B on the bottom, parehas lang sila na measure. So, pwede nating tawagin ito na line B or line segment B. But if we want to use SOHCAHTOA or the 6 trigonometric functions to solve this, we need at least 2 measurements. Kung mapapansin nyo, dito ang meron lang tayo ay 60 degrees. May nawawala tayong side B. So, anong ibang pwede nating gamitin na measurement? Okay, dito pumapasok yung use ng 300 feet tsaka 180 feet. Notice that if we will get the difference of these two, kunyari, ito yung 300 natin, 300. At pagka minus ko yung distance mula dito sa isang building which is 180 feet, as you can see, makukuha ko yung remaining distance dito. Tama? By subtracting what? 300 and 180 feet. So, pag sinubtract ko yan, I will get 120 feet. O, diba? I-zoom out natin yung triangle natin para mas madaling makita. And here, we can see that the reference angle is 60 degrees. We have the opposite side and we're missing the adjacent side. So, since opposite and adjacent sides are involved, we can now use tangent. So the solution is tangent 60 degrees equals 120 feet because it's the opposite side over B, which is the adjacent side. By cross multiplication, we'll get this. And dividing both sides again by tangent 60 degrees, we'll be able to get B on the left side of the equation. Now, doing that, we have 120 feet over tangent 60 degrees. So that the answer using your calculator is 40 square root of 3 or 69.28 feet. One of the techniques I use whenever I see equations like this is by just interchanging these two. So, ginagawa ko para makuha ko kaagad yung B, interchange ko lang agad yung tan 60 tsaka yung B dyan. So, magiging 120 over B kaagad siya. At hindi ko na ginagawa yung, oops, this is tan 60. At hindi ko na ginagawa yung mahabang part na to. Okay? Kasi wala naman tayo bina-violate na rule because of the principle of cross multiplication. Now, it's up to you kung kailangan ng complete solution ni sir tsaka ni ma'am. Siyempre, ipakita natin yan. Madali lang naman din, di ba? And that's all for this video. Kung gusto mo pa ng ibang Taglish tutorial in trigonometry, please like, share, and subscribe. At sama-sama nating matuklasan ang ganda ng simnayan.